The New York Knicks were the surprise team of the 2021 NBA season, shocking everyone and not only making the playoffs but getting home court advantage in the postseason. After a slow start to their offseason, the Knicks have picked up the pace as of late, making a handful of signings and trades to bolster their roster, and now it looks like they have built a team that should have the expectation to make the playoffs at minimum next season. For some reason though, I feel like people are overlooking this team a bit and thinking of them as a fairy tale one-off, a team with no real legitimacy as a contender heading into 2022. However, I disagree with that notion and personally believe that the Knicks offseason has been great and has set them up for even more success next year, which leads me to the topic of today's video. In today's video, I'll be discussing the Knicks offseason so far, how their roster is shaping up going into next season, and why I believe you should pay them some more attention next year. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more NBA content like this, I'm trying to reach 18,000 subscribers by September, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about the New York Knicks. Let's take a look at some of the off-season moves that the Knicks have made. The first big move they made was re-signing their breakout star from last season, Julius Randle. Randle was fantastic last season, becoming a brilliant first option seemingly out of nowhere. He broke out into a 24 points per game scorer on the best efficiency of his career arguably, with shooting splits of 45% from the field and 41% from deep. However, the best thing that Randle brought to the table last season was his defense, and he, with the help of Tom Thibodeau, was able to establish the defensive identity of New York that contributed so much to their success. Randle's defensive impact is evident in the advanced metrics, as he became a positive defender for the first time in his career when looking at defensive box plus minus with a positive 1.8, and he also nearly tripled his defensive win shares output as well, with 4.3 defensive win shares compared to his 2020 season of 1.8. Going into next season, I expect that level of defense to remain, and that will continue to enable New York to be a competitive side. With the other off-season additions made by New York, it is likely that Randle's offensive role will be slightly reduced, but I think that will overall be a positive for Randle and the Knicks. He should still be very impactful and a key element on that end, because in an offensive role that gets the best out of him and the best out of him only, like pick and roll action and low post entries, Randle should be able to improve his efficiency and remain a dangerous viable option for the Knicks to run their offense through. With that said though, it's clear he wasn't a primary option to look for moving forward, so I think him getting a few less shots will be good for the Knicks. I'll talk more about that towards the end of the video, but overall, Randle should almost certainly continue to remain as an all-star level player for the Knicks next season, and that should help them make the playoffs yet again in 2022. Another big pickup for the Knicks this summer, which was arguably their biggest, was the signing of Kemba Walker. Kemba was an absolute steal of a pickup, as the Knicks got him on a very cheap deal, I believe around $8 million a year. From Walker's perspective, this is a great spot to end up. Walker will be the focus of the offense for the first time since Charlotte, but also have his best supporting cast as a number one option as well, which will only be beneficial to his play. He's got plenty of history in the Garden, and I think Knicks fans are going to love him. He has a chance to get back to cardiac Kemba type play, not so much cardio Kemba. As for the Knicks side of things and how this helps them next season, New York desperately needed more offense last season, specifically creation on the perimeter. That's something that held them back in the playoffs. It became obvious that guys like Julius Randle and Derrick Rose shouldn't be primary options moving forward, as good as they were though. Kemba, on the other hand, provides that offensive creation and versatility that they need, as well as being a guy who can succeed off ball. Overall, Kemba Walker is a perfect fit into the Knicks lineup and should bring to the table everything that they need. It's an exciting addition and really solidifies this team as a legitimate contender for next season in my opinion, or at the very least, a playoff lock. So I really like his signing and I can't wait to see how he plays in the Garden. The next signing that New York made was the addition of Evan Fournier. Like Kemba, Fournier can provide some more shot creation and playmaking along the perimeter, adding more to the versatility and depth of the offense of the Knicks that they may start to enjoy next season. Fournier is coming off a fantastic Olympics run with France, where he won a silver medal. I think taking that into account, Fournier's confidence will be sky high, and I expect that will lead to a productive season, at least out of the gate initially. If Fournier can come off the bench and provide some good shooting and playmake every now and then to take some load off of Kemba, Rose and Randall, he'll impact the Knicks quite a bit and assist with another playoff berth in 2022. The next guy who's going to be an important factor for this Knicks team next season is Derrick Rose. Rose is bouncing back to a high level as of late, and like Randall, played a major role in the Knicks' journey to the postseason. His scoring influence was a must-need, and there's no way that they get the 4th seed without him. Next season, I think his role will continue to be important. The Knicks need all the offense they can get, and when you have someone as crafty as D Rose, it generally leads to good results. So Rose will be another guy to watch out for next season, though his role, like Randall, will be slightly reduced. In saying that though, I think that'll still be beneficial for Rose in the sense that the shots Rose will be taking should be high quality looks often, boosting his efficiency and overall impact on the team and in the offense. So again, it's going to be intriguing to see how well he impacts the Knicks next season. I think he'll yet again be a key element for them offensively, off the bench or not, and that will be great to see. The Knicks have a ton of young pieces in their core too, who will be looking to take leaps in their game next season and contribute to winning basketball. One is RJ Barrett, who's quickly becoming one of the more underrated players in the 2019 draft class. RJ had a mini breakout in 2021, shooting the best he ever has with shooting splits of 44% from the field, 40% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line. Compare that to his rookie season, where he had splits of 40, 32, 61. It's evident that Barrett is getting better by the minute and becoming a valuable component to this Knicks core moving forward. So I definitely keep an eye out for him next season and the role he plays. Emmanuel Quickley will also be a guy to look out for, as his shot creation off the bench will be vital to keeping the Knicks offense afloat when Kemba has to take a seat. Many sophomore players like Quickley will be next season, breakout too, so I think we could see him take a leap in his game, which will of course be beneficial to the Knicks, and I think the role he provides to the Knicks is quite overlooked, so I'd be sure to keep an eye on him next season. He could be a special talent and a major X factor for New York in 2022. A player that should be returning from injury next season for New York is Mitchell Robinson. Robinson was a crucial element to the Knicks' interior defense, so assuming he can return to a similar level, he will continue to help New York establish that identity and keep other teams at bay. Unfortunately, there's no timetable on his return yet, and Tom Thibodeau did say that the Knicks will remain patient with him. But when he does hopefully get back in the lineup, he will be a positive boost for New York next season, particularly defensively. So those are all the players on the New York Knicks that I personally think will make a big impact for them next season and help them re-emerge as a legitimate playoff side. But realistically, how good is this team? Where do they sit amongst other Eastern Conference teams right now? Right now, I can see the Knicks as being a team that finishes anywhere from the 4th to 8th seed next season. Teams like the Nets, Bucks, and 76ers should all finish above them comfortably, but from there, I can see the Knicks beating out any team, or falling behind any team, outside of the obvious bottom feeders of course. Teams like Miami and Chicago have improved on paper like the Knicks, but I think New York definitely can remain competitive with them. Same goes for teams like Boston and Atlanta. They're both great teams, but I think the Knicks can beat them on any given night with their roster upgrades. If I had to be specific, I'd say the Knicks probably finish around 6 next season. I think it's fair to say that they drop back a couple of spots because let's be real, some elements of luck did play into their enormous success last season, but with all the improvements that they made this offseason, I just can't see them going away anytime soon. This is a side who should be a lock to play in the postseason, They've got most things covered, and if their defense remains elite, they will be one of the tougher teams to come up against out east. But overall, these are my thoughts on the New York Knicks. It's pretty clear to me that this is a team not to be slept on, because they've had a fantastic offseason that's fixed the majority of their problems and is setting them up for a season that should build upon the last exponentially. Last year, the Knicks had a bad offense, especially in the half court. They lacked creation as a whole, as the offense all fell on the shoulders of Julius Randle and Derrick Rose. Again, as I mentioned earlier, those two guys aren't ideal primaries. To fix that, the Knicks have added Kemba Walker, a terrific shot creator with his shooting, ability to create out of the pick and roll, passing talent, and more. Add into the mix Emmanuel quickly off the bench, quality off-ball pieces like Evan Fournier, and having Julius Randle and Derrick Rose being able to maximize their offensive talent in a less heavily relied upon role, the Knicks have got a pretty amazing offensive group going into next season that will be versatile enough to cause headaches. What's even more exciting is that the Knicks have been able to maintain their defensive identity. Randle isn't going away on that end, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and others are solid guys there, and a key figure to their defensive play is rim protector Mitchell Robinson, who hopefully is going to return from injury in 2022. All around, this team is looking like a playoff lock. The Knicks came into the offseason with a few obvious problems, and they've gone out and fixed pretty much all of them. That is what is so exciting to me. Obviously, a lot of teams around the Knicks have improved, like the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls, but I don't think that means that the Knicks will be knocked out of playoff contention. This team is as solid as they come, and to me are pretty big underdogs for next season. Everyone counted them out in 2021, and they proved everyone wrong, so I highly suggest not doing that again. This is a team ready to go further and live up to the massive expectations New Yorkers have for their team. And for that reason, I'm extremely excited to see how they go next season. And I think you should be, too. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good are the New York Knicks to you? Do you have them as a playoff side for next season? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.